Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Video Game Reviews. It's been coming up on 3 months now since I published my last episode, and some of it comes down to just me living my life, and some of it comes down to the games that I've been playing. It's not like I stopped, finishing games or anything. It's just a lot of the games that I've been playing haven't really made that strong of an impact on me one way or the other. And that's not to say that they've been bad. No, they've been pretty good. I would say in the 6 to 7 range, give or take a little bit. Most of the games I've been playing have been good, but just not exciting in a positive way, or basically not really great or really terrible. They've all just been pretty solid, probably worth playing, not so much worth making a video about. And nothing that I really felt this need to pick up my pen and paper and microphone and tell the world about. And spoiler alert, so that does apply also to today's game. So today I'm going to be talking to you about Chained Echoes, which, if you've heard anything about this game, then you've probably heard very good things. It is pretty good. Here's the thing: if you are actively looking to engage with a JRPG that you haven't played before, this could very well be what you're looking for. I'm looking for something a little bit different out of a JRPG. Okay, so just a little bit of background. I have played, oh my god, so many JRPGs in my lifetime that it really takes something unusual to recapture my interest. And every once in a while, I would say, I get nostalgic and I think to myself, I don't want to play an 80 or 100 hour Final Fantasy game, but I want like a little sampling of that feeling, of that nostalgia hit, and if you saw my review on Cthulhu Saves Christmas, that game scratched that itch perfectly. I don't remember how long that game was. I want to say somewhere around 10 hours, give or take. But it was nice. It was brief. Everything about it was streamlined, and it was just really easy to pick up and play and get that nostalgia hit. And I kind of thought that's what I was in for here with Chained Echoes. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the presentation. You can see what it looks like on the video. It's a good-looking 16-bit inspired JRPG developed by a small team, and it does implement some pretty interesting new systems and ideas, but it wound up going a little bit south for me, and I can talk to you more about why that is as we move forward. But anyways, yeah, the presentation is fine. The music, which you probably won't get to hear so much of because I don't know. Honestly, I don't even understand how that works, but apparently you're not supposed to play too much music or else it's a copyright thing. So you're probably not going to hear the audio so much in this video for obvious reasons, because I'm talking all over it. But suffice it to say that it is pretty darn good JRPG audio. I'm pretty impressed with the music, the sound effects, all that. From what I can recall, they nailed all that just fine. So the presentation's fine. Again, it didn't floor me in any way. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is incredible, but it's good. So let's talk about the runtime. Okay, so if you go online and you ask Google how long it takes to beat this game, I believe it's going to tell you somewhere around 23 hours, and I'll be honest, that's kind of what I was up for when I picked this game up. I was thinking, that's a good length for where I'm at in life. I can play. The game's not gonna be over in a handful of hours. I'm really gonna get to get my feet wet and just enjoy playing a JRPG, but it's also not going to drag on forever. It's around 23, 24 hours. That, in my estimation, is a good length for a JRPG, and you so seldom see JRPG developers exercise the kind of restraint necessary to really pull it in and do what they have to do in that kind of a time frame. Well, it took me more than double that. It took me 60 hours to finish Chained Echoes, which is a figure I haven't seen anywhere online. So just as a heads up, this is my opinion, and it's me talking about my experience with this game, but understand that my experience is also apparently very atypical. And also bear in mind, that wasn't even a completionist run. Like, I didn't even attempt to get everything. I just wanted to be like sufficiently powered to be able to see the end of the game, and that took me 60 hours. So let's dive into the story and the characters. Now this is kind of an Chained Echoes here is kind of an interesting example where story and characters are concerned, because on the one hand, the characters are, for me at least, kind of middle of the road. They're not poorly written or anything like that for the most part. They're just not that engaging. There was no emotional connection to these characters for me. But honestly, I run into that a lot with, even the Final Fantasy games, and plenty of people seem to connect with those, but I've never felt that emotional investment with pretty much with Squaresoft characters, period. Which I know is going to be blasphemy to a lot of people, especially a lot of JRPG fans, and that's fine. I mean, different strokes for different folks, but it doesn't pull me in. Anyway, so look, the characters aren't that engaging. However, the story's pretty good, which seems like kind of a contradiction, but that's what we're working with here with Chained Echoes. So like, the story starts off, I would say, relatively like grounded and promising, like nothing too crazy or outlandish or like anime Japanese random. However, I would say like the biggest thing where the writing is concerned, and there are a few typos, especially in kind of closer to the early game, which is unfortunate because, it creates kind of a not great impression. However, I can look past that. That's not a huge deal for me, because the writers really seem to have something to say. In fact, they seem to have a lot to say about everything from consumerism to war and just conflict in general. And I mean, the topics that this game discusses successfully, I might add, like they really, for the most part, they really pull it off. The topics are varied and pretty interesting and pretty well articulated, I would say. So yeah, it really seems, like I said, just to pull it back in, it seems really grounded and like it has a lot to say until it doesn't. And what I mean by that is that, until it just decides to make a hard left turn and it starts delving really hard into these JRPG cliches about, the power of friendship and overcoming God with the power of humanity and blah, blah. Like, that's fine. I don't have anything against a game with those themes, but it's just, it's such a trope of this genre, and I'm so over it, to be honest. I want something fresh. It starts out as, like, to use sort of a comparison with film, I guess. Chained Echoes starts out as like a grounded Batman film. I mean, not quite that good, but that's, in my opinion, a pretty high bar. But anyways, to give you an idea, it starts out really grounded, like a Batman film, but then it ends up as like this Avengers Skybeam, like just shitstorm of genre tropes. And I mean, before that happened, I was already texting friends like, oh my God, there's actually a really refreshing, grounded JRPG that you should check out, Chained Echoes, look at it. And then, so I didn't like it when the story went off the rails and started leaning into those genre tropes. And I also didn't like it. Well, I never like it, actually. I'm trying to think of, there's probably one or two examples that aren't coming to mind right now. But for the most part, I don't like it when JRPGs start with a more or less linear narrative, and then the world opens up and you're in more of a sandboxy open world, like, hey, there's no more direction, just go find out, do whatever you want to. And I understand, again, that I'm the odd man out with that. Open world has been the biggest thing for at least 10, 15 years now, maybe longer. I never really jumped on that bandwagon. I mean, if you saw my review, you know that I love The Witcher 3, but that's really the exception for me, not the rule. So I never and Chained Echoes does the same thing as the rest of those JRPGs. It's a very grounded, relatively linear narrative, and then it's like, okay, go do what you want now. And that's pretty much exactly where they lose me. It's just not interesting to me. What else? It does have to be mentioned that they really tried to do a lot with this game in terms of introducing new mechanics or gameplay elements to the mix. You've got multiple vehicles. I don't want to spoil too much. You're going to see some things in the video clips that will inform you or act as a teaser for some of that if you're not aware of it already. But yeah, and honestly, I don't really think that I'm going to delve into all that, because there's a lot. I mean, honestly, this game was still introducing new systems for my playthrough all the way up to around 20 hours. It was still introducing new elements to the game play, and that's when I realized, I bet you anything this is not going to be over at the 23-hour mark, because they're still teaching me new elements of, basically how to engage with this game. And so without diving into that too deeply and really breaking all of those apart, and the reason that I'm not going to do that is because, while it was novel and it was refreshing, it wasn't really none of it was really a game changer for me. It was like, oh, this is nice. This is a nice change of pace. This is I'm required to think a little bit when I enter a battle in a JRPG, or at least be aware of who I'm up against and I have to pay attention to some degree. Okay, so that obviously is a positive thing, but at the end of the day, I didn't leave this game feeling like, wow, that was quite an experience. It was just enough to get me to finish this thing, to be quite honest with you. And so what I would say is, if you're looking to play a JRPG and you're just looking for a good one, this Chained Echoes is a good one. However, if you are burned out on JRPGs, as I am, I'm actually permanently burned out on this entire genre, because I've just played so many of them over the years. But every once in a while, I'll get a wild hair, and I'll feel like I should give one a try. I should try to find an exceptional one that's going to give me that nostalgia hit, but kind of distill or filter out what I consider to be some of the outdated elements, which they tried valiantly to pull off here. But at the end of the day, it made their game good, not great. So basically, I had fun with Chained Echoes, but by the time it ended, I was way past ready for it to be over, just like every other JRPG that I play anymore. And so if you're looking for that to not be the case, if you want a nice, concise experience, I would argue, and again, I'm an outlier in this, but I would argue that this is not your game. If you want to sink your teeth into a JRPG, and it doesn't have to be 100 hours for you, then this could be your game. That's it. That's all I have to say about Chained Echoes. I don't know, when I'm going to get down to editing this and publishing and all that. But, I just wanted to reiterate that this was kind of a one-off. This episode doesn't necessarily mean that I'm back. I'm certainly not going to be back to any kind of a one video per week type of schedule. But, if you stay subscribed, you'll see that from time to time I may choose to drop a video if I've got nothing going on and it sounds like a fun thing to do with my weekend. Anyways, that's it, guys. I appreciate you watching. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed it or thought it was useful. And If there is a next time, I will see you then. Bye-bye.